We all have that one friend that says way too many slang words. You probably hear them saying random words like whip, lit, cap, word, just really random things. With this in mind, I want to answer the question, why do we use slang words? And I think the best way to answer this question is using a behavioral analytic approach. And I'm sure all you guys are wondering, behavior analysis, what is that? I've never heard of it. Well, behavior analysis is a branch of psychology that focuses on the behaviorist perspective. According to the founders of applied behavior analysis, Bear, Wolf, and Risley, behavior analysis is the use of implementing interventions based on learning theory to improve socially significant behavior. In other words, behavior analysis focuses on helping people through using reinforcement and punishment. In order to answer why we use slang, we have to talk about functions. Don't worry, this isn't math class. We're talking about functions of behavior. These are basically why we emit behavior, the reason behind our behavior. There's 4 main types. First, attention, access to attention. This can be access to a reprimand, an embrace, anything from a high five from your best friend, or that look your mom gives you when you're in big trouble. Next, you have access to a tangible item. So this can be as simple as me asking for my phone. Next, you have escape maintain behavior. This is behavior that is emitted to escape from a situation, usually a negative stimulus. So if I make up an excuse to get out of a conversation I don't want to be in, or even procrastinating homework can be an example of escape maintain behavior because you're trying to escape doing your homework. Lastly, you have automatically maintained behavior. Automatically maintained behavior is behavior that is emitted for some internally reinforcing reason. So if you have an itch on your arm and you scratch it, that's likely automatically reinforced. In order to figure out the function of behavior, behavior analysts look at 3 parts of behavior. First, the antecedent, what happens right before the behavior is emitted, then the consequence, then the behavior itself, and then the consequence. And this is known as the ABCs of a behavior analysis. So now that we have a little bit of a background, let's dive into it. Let's analyze the ABCs of a scenario where I use the slang word cap. So cap is probably one of the most popularly used slang words today and originated in black communities in the early 1900s and is used to mean to lie. So to cap means to lie. So here's an example where I'm talking to my friend Jim. So Jim tells me, Miss Apple put the test grades in. I'm horrified. I think I failed Miss Apple's test. I'm really scared. So I respond, that's cap. Praying that he's lying, that my exam will not tank my grade. He sadly responds, no, I'm telling the truth, my grade dropped, right? So the grades are in, my grade dropped. So let's look at the ABCs of this behavior, of me saying cap. The antecedent is Jim telling me that the test grade's in, my nightmare scenario is coming true, my grades are gonna fall. The behavior itself is me saying cap, or that's cap, and this is an example of an interverbal. An interverbal is one of the 5 types of elementary verbal operands, or one of the 5 types of verbal behavior. An interverbal is a verbal behavior that is in response to a verbal stimulus where the 2 do not have point-to-point correspondence or the 2 do not sound the same. So I'm going to say a word, and I want you guys to say the first thing that comes to mind to have an example of an interverbal. So if I say ball, you guys say dog. Perfect. Ball and dog, they don't sound the same, they don't look the same. That's an interverbal. Then the consequence of me saying that's cap is Jim recognizing my use of cap as to lie, so he recognizes my use of cap, which is likely reinforcing, but he also tells me that his grade dropped and that the test grades are in. So what's the function of this behavior? Anyone have any guesses? It could be automatic, escape, tangible, or attention. Any guesses? Escape, exactly, because I'm trying to escape the idea that the test grades are in. Great. So let's look at another example. Word. So word is a popular slang word that originated in the 1980s to mean I agree. So here's an example where I'm talking to my friend Luke. So Luke tells me, oh my God, did you see Curry dropped for you last night? It was crazy. I'm a big Curry fan. I was kind of sad that they lost last night, but I respond, I know, it was amazing. It was awesome. And Luke responds word. I respond word. Then we high five, right? Pretty average conversation with my friend Luke. So let's analyze my use of word. So the second word in this scenario. So the antecedent is Luke saying word. The behavior is me saying word. And this is an example of an echoic. An echoic is another type of verbal behavior that is a verbal behavior that is in response to a verbal stimulus where the two do have point-to-point correspondence. So if I say ball, you guys say ball, right? So consequence is Luke and I high-fiving, which for me is likely reinforcing because I love high fives. Those of you guys who know me, I high five all the time. So I likely keep saying word in this context to Luke in the future. So what's the function of this behavior? Any guesses? Anything? OK. It's attention, because I likely want Luke's attention by repeating what he said, right? So let's move on to our last scenario. Whip. So whip is not talking the dance move, don't worry, not 2016. I'm talking about whip meaning car. So let's talk about an example where I'm talking to my friend Peter. So Peter's a big car guy. He tells me, hey, Matias, did you see my new car? I respond, I see it out of the corner of my eye. I point to it and I say, is that your new whip over there? Can I take it for a spin? And on some miraculous reason, Peter agrees and tosses me the car keys. So let's put it aside that Peter's probably trusts me a little bit too much with his new car and focus on my use of whip, right? So the antecedent is me seeing Peter's car. The behavior is me saying, is that your whip over there? Can I take it for a spin? And this is an example of a tact. A tact is one of the other types of verbal behaviors. And a tact is a verbal behavior that is in response to a non-verbal stimulus. So it's basically how we label things. So when you were a little kid and someone put an apple in front of you and they said, this is an apple, from then on you probably thought, OK, a red fruit is an apple. That's how you labeled it. That's a tact. So same thing, I see Peter's car and I label it as a whip. So the consequence of me saying whip is Peter tossing the keys and saying I can drive it. So what's the function? Any guesses? Access to attention, tangible, escape, automatic. Tangible, yeah. Because I want Peter's car, I want to drive his car. So let's take a step back and talk about what we learned today. We learned what behavior analysis is. It's a branch of psychology that focuses on the behaviorist perspective in order to help people better their lives. We learned about the 4 functions of behavior: access to attention, automatic, and access to escape, and access to a tangible item. We learned about a few of the verbal operands: a tact, an echoic, and an interverbal. And then we also learned about the ABCs of verbal behavior and how to implement them into a functional analysis to figure out why we use certain words. So let's answer the question we all came here today to answer. Why do we use slang? Well, if we look at the 3 scenarios, I used cap for escape, I used word for attention, I used whip for tangible, right? So 3 different words, 3 different scenarios, 3 different functions, 3 different reasons for occurring. And this is where my answer comes in. It's really hard to say. I know it's not the most satisfying answer, but it's a testament to the complexity of our verbal repertoire and the amount of words we use every day. So I want to challenge you all. Think about every word you use in a day. There's thousands of words you use. Each one of those words have their own stimulus, have their own reason for occurring, and have their own function. So next time you hear your friend saying a ton of random slang words, know that it's no cap what you learned here today. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.